Gentlemen, welcome back to the Short Ball Podcast for another week. This episode will be diving straight into my Origin Under-19s predicted lineups for both New South Wales and Queensland. The game's obviously on the 18th of June, so about a month away, but I'll typically do a podcast like this about a month leading into it, just because after SG Ball and Mount Mega Cup Grand Finals on the weekend as well, so those seasons both coming to an end. So I've got a pretty decent idea of who the top talent is in the age group, and obviously some have already been playing New South Wales Cup and Jersey Flag and whatnot. There will most likely be changes over the next month. There's going to be guys coming in and out of form, guys getting injured, etc. But I'm just going to put together a team that I think I'd pick at the moment. Go through a couple of positional battles, stats that I have on hand, and just go from there. But we'll start off with New South Wales. Coming off the first loss in this format last season, they'd won the first three installments of Origin Under-19s, and then last year, Javon Andrews obviously went on that final 20-minute spurt that he did to win that game and for Queensland, and ended up 23-22 in a cracking game. So hopefully another game of that same sort of standard, but this time New South Wales gets the dub. Okay, I'm not sure how I'm going to do this, whether I name what my predicted lineup is or just go sort of through my positional battles first. I might go through my positional battles first. One key position battle at fullback, and a lot of people have got a lot of differing thoughts on this. My top two fullbacks, I think one of these two guys has to be the fullback. It's either Rex Bathingthwaite or it's Cameron Bamblett. Cameron Bamblett's obviously the incumbent Australian schoolboys fullback. Rex Bathingthwaite, he just won the SG Ball Player of the Match in the grand final, and won the SG Ball competition and has played flag. He played NRL trials at the start of the year. He's done a lot of really good things this season, Rex Bathingthwaite, and I think it's between those two. If you look at their numbers, Rex didn't play the full SG Ball season. He only got 3 matches in during the regular season. 161 average run meters, 4 line break involvements, 3 try involvements, 15 tackle breaks, so 5 tackle breaks a game, and only the 1 error. And then Cameron Bamblett, Australian schoolboy, he highly accomplished over the last sort of 24 months. 9 matches in SG Ball, 124 average run meters, 12 line break involvements. So, sort of at that similar clip to what Rex had. If you times Rex's matches to match to level Cameron Bamblett's matches, they'd have the same amount of line break involvements, and then 12 try involvements as well for Cameron Bamblett across those 9 games. 36 tackle breaks, so 4 tackle breaks a game, just 1 less than what Rex had, and 13 errors across those 9 matches. They're pretty evenly matched statistically. Rex has him covered when it comes to average run meters and errors as well, but you can't really compare their errors considering Rex had only played the 3 games and Bamblett played 9. But for me, I think you've got to reward form in, the top competitions in the age group in SG Ball. Like Rex Bathingthwaite's final series, he was awesome in both the prelim and the grand final. He won the comp. He's done all these things. And, I think if he wasn't injured last year, he might have taken that Australian schoolboys jersey as well. Obviously, he missed that. I think it was a shoulder that he did last season to sort of miss the majority of the schoolboy season. And missed the majority of the SG Ball season as well. Didn't get to play in that grand final last year, so obviously got his chance to win it this year. And I think in terms of the under-19s age fullbacks, he's right up there at the very, very top across Australia, not just in New South Wales. So I think he would be my guy there at fullback. Just over the top of Cameron Bamblett. I can understand the people that are going with Bamblett, but I just think Rex is probably the better option there. Okay, let's go to our back 5, or the outside backs rather, the wingers and centers. Now, I don't have stats here for these positional battles, but I think probably the easiest choice in this entire lineup is my 2 centers. I'm just going Dane Jennings and Toby Winter. Toby Winter, I wanted him in last year. For those of you that remember my podcast from last year talking about it, he was probably my biggest smoky in the lineup, but he was a guy that I wanted in this side last year, and he's just continued to play really good footy He got his team into the SG Ball Grand Final as well this season. He's obviously a talented centre and fullback, but I think long term he's probably a centre. And I think for this rep level with Rex Bathurst out the back, I think he's a good guy to put into that centre position. And then Dane Jennings, he's just been the best centre in SG Ball this season. I don't think there's too much of a debate to that, and what he's done over the course of, the last 24 months in terms of his, you've made the Australian schoolboys side, the things that he's done in SG Ball, things that he's done at schoolboy level for, Central Coast and whatnot. He's just a walking highlight reel, entertainment plus, and Toby Winter's a guy that you get him the ball inside the 20, he's going to try and create something for you. I think that works out perfectly. Toby Winter left edge, Dane Jennings right edge. I think to me that just seems a very obvious pick. And the wings are where I had... The wing positions are where I had a little bit of dramas in terms of, selecting my two wingers. I just wasn't quite sure who to go there. There wasn't major standouts this season in terms of, they're really just dominating it. And with Dane Jennings and Toby Winter, they have to be the two guys there. There's nobody that's really put their hand up and gone, I have to be the guy there. But one that a guy that I rate really highly, who doesn't really get the media raps, or he doesn't get, people just generally don't talk about him enough for what he's done, is Cooper Johnson down at Canberra. He did injure himself in flag over the weekend. I'm trying to figure out how bad that was. It was a shoulder. I don't know if it's, a long-term or maybe just an AC joint injury or something like that, but a month out from Origin U19s, it obviously isn't ideal, but he was about 140 average run meters this season in SG Ball. One of the most exciting attacking players in the competition, lightning quick. I think he's a guy who's really slept on, and I thought he was stiff not to be in that Australian schoolboys frame last year as well. Very stiff actually. Like, he is a little bit of a thinner frame in terms of physicality wise. I don't know, but I feel like speed goes underrated for how much it counts for. Like, if you can skin someone off and gone, that's a try. You find someone who's quick in an open space, they're gone. It's like, yeah, it's all good and well to be big, physical, strong, powerful, all those sorts of things, but like, the amount of points just raw speed can get you in rugby league is insane. And he's a guy who's certainly got that. He plays a lot of fullback for Canberra. He can play on the wing as well. He's played a lot of wing over the last sort of 24 months. He's Jersey flag, played really well in Jersey flag last year. He's already stepped up to Jersey flag this season as well after another, solid SG Ball campaign. They probably didn't go quite the way they wanted it to. They missed the top 8. And, if they'd made the top 8, his claim would be a lot louder. And I think a lot more people would be aware to what he's been doing in the age group, but he's one winger for mine, I think. And the other wing, I find it very interesting to see what happens with Makasini, because obviously if he is able to play this game, then he will. He's probably one of the best players in the age group. He's up there, playing NRL week in, week out. Over the first sort of 6 weeks of the competition, he's then not featured for the Tigers of late. It might be interesting if Benji just goes, hey, work on your game, because he did have that pretty shocking game a couple of weeks ago in first grade. Hey, just go back, work on your game, go back, get some confidence up, play Origin U19s, get that experience, because you are allowed to have a player that's got NRL experience. I think they've actually got a cap on it, they can only have one, which seems a little bit ridiculous to me, but that's just something I've heard. It's not, something that's officially out there or anything, but yeah, he would be my guy on the wing there. Cooper Johnson on one wing, and then Makasini on the other wing. But if Makasini's not playing, I think the guy I'd probably go with, just looking across the wingers, I think a guy with a lot of upside in that wing position, tall, athletic, quick, good under the high ball, all these sorts of things. Doesn't come up with too many errors either. And put in another good season in SG Ball, despite a team that, again, didn't make the top 8, was Wesley Papaliafoa. Yeah, I don't know. I just think in terms of wingers, he's probably got the most, physical upside, the probably the most raw potential out of any of the wingers in the SG ball competition at the moment. He's playing schoolboys for Bass. He's done so for the last 3 years or so now, and he's done really good things at the Bulldogs over the last couple of years in junior reps. In sides that haven't been going all that well, he's still shown plenty of promise. So, he'd be an age up in this contest. I don't know if he will get thrown into this side, but just looking at the wing stocks at the moment, he's probably a guy that I'd have there. The halves. Let's go into the halves now for New South Wales. Halfback, I've nailed it down to 3 people. I added a 4th in Chase Butler on a post that I did earlier today. But in terms of, I think he's probably next year, Chase Butler, for him, still an age up. And, he put in a really good season in SG ball. But, I just don't think this year's his year to claim that jersey, but he'll get his fair chance next year. My top 3 were Carter Mariko, Jack Thompson, Lincoln Fletcher. Carter Mariko, I'm about to make the case for him, and if you don't think he's going to be the 7 after hearing this case, I don't know sort of where you're going, but SG Ball Player of the Year, straight away. It didn't help Lorenzo last year, which was ridiculous, but Lorenzo didn't even make the squad last season after being the SG Ball Player of the Year, so clearly that doesn't matter too much to the eyes of the selectors, but, he's under 18s at the moment. He's still an age up, but SG Ball Player of the Year regardless. 9 matches, 38 average run meters, 204 average kick meters, 19 line break involvements in 9 games, 22 try involvements in 9 games, 22 tackle breaks, 91.9% tackle efficiency, and 9 errors. He's a great defensive half, physical. He's a bigger body. He's got a great kicking game on him. And that, 22 try involvements in 9 matches is ridiculous. I don't care how good his side was. That's still an incredible feat. Obviously I had Elijah Burbe as my player of the year in SG Ball through my 3-2-1 system. But I'm not going to push back too hard on Carter Mariko winning it. When you win that award, when you're an age up, you're obviously a very, very good player. He won Howard Matthews Player of the Year last year. I just think when he won that award, I think that had to have locked him into that 7 jersey. Then you got, Jack Thompson. He's been playing reserve grade. He's played NRL trials, jersey flag, or he's playing up, which counts for a lot, and it has counted for a lot traditionally with these under-19 sides. The guys that are playing cup are more likely to get picked over the guys playing SG ball. Whether that's fair or not, I'll let you be the judge of that. But Jack Thompson, 5 matches in reserve grade, 5 try assists, 87% tackle efficiency. His defense is fine. He has been caught out a couple of times. He had to defend next to Bishop Neal, 2 17-year-olds or 17/18-year-olds in a couple of games earlier in the season as well, where they got skinned a little bit. Typically a pretty solid defender, a little bit of a smaller body than Mariko is, but still putting in solid performances in reserve grade, putting in great performances in jersey flag. If he was playing SG ball, he'd probably be one of the premier players in that competition too. He was elite in Howard Matthews 2 years ago when he won the comp for the New Zealand Warriors that year. He's a guy who's right up there. I think it's, between Mariko and Thompson in my eyes. The third guy who's got to be in the equation because he was an Australian schoolboy is Lincoln Fletcher. In SG ball, 6 matches, 39 average run meters, 9 line break involvements, 9 try involvements, 147 average kick meters, 10 tackle breaks, 90.7 tackle efficiency, and 3 errors. So Carter Mariko's numbers in SG ball pretty clear. Lincoln Fletcher's obviously played 3 less matches, but the discrepancy in terms of try involvements and whatnot, and tackle breaks and all these sorts of things is pretty large. But he is an Australian schoolboy. He is high quality player. He is also injured at the moment as well. It says on the Para Eels website he won't be back to round 13. I don't fully believe that because the Para Eels website said Pezzett and Semrani and that weren't meant to be back till round 13 as well, and they came back round 9. But yeah, he is injured at the moment. He could be a late returner in terms of pushing for that Origin under-19 spot. So I just think he's probably fallen out of the picture in the last month or so with that injury and with what Mariko has gone on to achieve and with what Jack Thompson's been doing in reserve grade and jersey flag and whatnot. My selection there would be Carter Mariko, as you would probably have imagined by the way I was speaking about that comparison. And, Jack Thompson was going to be my guy for a long, long time. And then, the more the SG ball season went on, the more like I was messaging people going, geez, Carter Mariko could be getting a lot closer and a lot closer. And, it got to about finals time. I think after he put in that clinic against the Melbourne Storm in week 1 of finals, I started to really consider it. And then as soon as he won SG Ball Player of the Year on the weekend, it was just like, yeah, okay, it's done. He's going to be the 7. So Carter Mariko, my 7. And then at 6, there is another positional battle here that I've gone into a little bit more detail with. Tony Large versus Taj Alvarez for the 6 jersey. 8 matches for Tony Large, 111 average run meters, good runner of the footy, 14 line break involvements, 8 try involvements, 22 tackle breaks, 83.8% tackle efficiency and 4 errors. Taj Alvarez, 7 matches, 105 average run meters, so slightly less run meters, 13 line break involvements, 1 less, 17 try involvements, 12 tries, which is a huge number in favour of Taj Alvarez. 30 tackle breaks, 82.9% tackle efficiency and 9 errors. What I get from those numbers that sort of supports what my eye has told me about these two guys all year is Tony Large probably a little bit silkier. He's probably a bit stronger physically in terms of ball running. Taj Alvarez is quicker. Good support player, scores a lot of tries throughout. He's got a good kick chase. Taj Alvarez has double the errors, but he does have a lot of errors going up for high balls and contesting in attack. So that doesn't concern me too much. Defensively, they're pretty similar. I'd probably give the point on Tony Large defensively just, but they're not too dissimilar defensively. It is that 12 tries that is probably the only stat, which is a huge discrepancy between the two. And that does go in favour of Taj Alvarez. But I just think Tony Large has got that that sort of X factor. Well, not X factor, because Taj Alvarez probably has that as well. Just that class and composure about him, I guess, that, he comes up with a lot of big plays throughout games. In the finals, he beat Taj Alvarez in week 1 of SG Ball finals as well. Come up with a couple of huge defensive plays in that game. When he runs the ball, he's just silky. He can find that gap. His ball playing is probably better than Taj Alvarez's. Whereas Taj, as soon as there's a breakdown in the defense, he goes, and he's so quick he can take advantage of that. And Taj Alvarez is the one that's got that X factor about him, where he can create points out of any kind of broken play whatsoever, and he can get down on a kick chase and cause an issue there. Whereas that's not really a trait of Tony Large's. Tony Large probably has a better kicking game. He does have a very good kicking game on Tony Large, whereas Taj Alvarez probably doesn't have that to the same extent. He's Isaac Fotumala was doing the majority of the kicking for South Sydney, and Taj Alvarez was the one on the kick chases there. So it's a very good comparison, and they're both very similar statistically. I'm leaning towards Tony Large. Like I said, I just think he's got that class and composure about him, and he comes up with big plays, both sides of the ball, defense and attack, and I'm leaning him just. But you can't go wrong with either of these two in the team. And I wouldn't blame anyone who's got Taj Alvarez there ahead of Tony Large, because they've both got their own sort of appeal. They're both, different players, and they've both had stellar season in SG Ball this year. And, Taj Alvarez had an awesome season in SG Ball last year too. He's a high try count there. He does tend to stack them up. When he gets one, he will typically get 2 or 3. So, yeah, that is a good part to Taj Alvarez's game. But I'll move on to the forward pack. I won't break this down as much in terms of statistics and all that sort of thing. You can't really, you know, you can compare their run meters or whatnot, but, you can have 200 run meters and be a plotter, and you can have 100 run meters and each run is with venom and bending the line back and creating quick play of the balls and ruck speeds and all that sort of thing. So I try not to do that as much. But my two front rowers starting, I sort of deliberated over this a little bit. And I just went back to last year's City under-18 side to help me sort of determine who will be there. And I think they'll go with Ryder Talangi and Christian Tapau-Moores. Christian Tapau-Moores was there already for me. I think he had a great season SG ball, and damaging ball runner, good offloader, close to the line of threat, and had a good season. Then Ryder Talangi, I think with him, he's had some really top performances in SG Ball this year. He's had a couple of down performances as well. The team was up and down. There was a lot of injuries as well, but he was a City under-18 starting front rower. He's gone up to flag and now and New South Wales Cup as well. He's got that experience at the higher level. I don't know that he's had that game or that string of games where you've really gone wow yet with Ryder Talangi, but big physical, strong ball runner, good defensively, like he'll hit you, and he has done so on multiple occasions this season. You just know that there's something there potential-wise with him, and a lot of good judges have high raps on him, and being the City under-18s front rower last year probably means that they're going to go with him in New South Wales under-19s this year. And I said it last year as well. When I was doing my predicted lineups, I had him in my squad because I just thought he's going to be a guy that's here next year, and I'll stick with that. So Ryder Talangi and Christian Tapau-Moores would be my two front rowers. I say, whatever, I guess, negative quotation marks there about Ryder in terms of what it can be. Potential-wise is more so what I'm saying, because he's a guy that's always had super big raps on him. He's an Australian schoolboy. He's done so many things in the game, but I guess this year he probably hasn't gone to that level of being that dominant front rower in terms of every single time you watch him, you're like, oh, this is the best prop in the age group, or this is an Australian schoolboy, New South Wales under-19s, all that sort of thing. But you know what's there with him, and he hasn't been bad by any stretch of the means. It's not bagging him out or not negative thing on him. I've got him starting in my New South Wales under-19s lineup. It's just about I was just a little bit unsure, and he wasn't in my SG Ball team of the year, and I'll stick by that. I didn't think he was one of the best props in SG Ball this season. In terms of from what I saw. Christian Tapau-Moores wasn't there, but he was right on the fringe of it for mine. There's guys in that SG Ball team of the year that, the two starting front rowers were both Kiwis, so that's as well. They don't have to compete with them here, but yeah, Ryder Talangi, Christian Tapau-Moores, my two front rowers. Number nine is going to be a very interesting battle. I've said all season, I think Cody Hill's been the best 9 in SG Ball, and the numbers will back that up. Defensively, very, very strong. Probably the best defensive 9 in the competition. Again, another thing that the numbers probably back up. And then even if you look at the video and whatnot, and you watch him play, I just think he's been the best 9 in the age group this season. There's a big push for Diesel Hagen as well. I think one of those two guys will start in this 9 jersey. I think, for mine, one of those two will most definitely start in this 9 jersey. And I think the 14 will be Ashton Large. I think, whichever one gets picked out of Cody Hill, Diesel Hagen, I think the other one misses out of the squad entirely. Unless they go with one of them in a 19, or, there's an extended squad or whatnot. That's beside the point. Cody Hill, he was the City under-18s 9 last year. Diesel Hagen was the country under-18s 9. Dieselhagen put in a huge finals. That finals campaign is what really makes it a little bit tricky because Dieselhagen got to the grand final with the Newcastle Knights and he's played New South Wales Cup and whatnot. Cody Hill's gone straight up to Jersey Flag this weekend after his SG Ball campaign. So, there's not going to be a drama with him in terms of stepping up a level. But yeah, I just think when I'm comparing the two and when I'm looking at the two, Dieselhagen have wrapped the whole final series throughout the regular season. I thought Cody Hill was clearly the best 9 in the competition. I thought there was actually a gap there. It was Cody Hill, then Ashton Large, and then probably Dieselhagen. But he didn't play the full season either, did Diesel. So, you can't hold that against him. And then during the finals, Cody Hill was still great. Like his defensive work, I think he made 40 tackles in the prelim final. And when you watched him, he was physically strong. He was dominating contact, all those sorts of things. Yeah, I don't know, because you know what, if I'm picking it, and I'm picking this side, Cody Hill would be my number 9. Wouldn't surprise me if Dieselhagen's the guy starting there though. Before I get myself too bogged down in that conversation, my back rowers, the Australian schoolboys back rowers, Phoenix Godinay, Darcy Smith. I said it last year that these two will probably be the guys. This year, and Darcy Smith was a guy that I had in my side last year. I just think he's a highly quality back rower, and Phoenix Godinay, he probably had a down year in SG Ball by his standards, but there's no doubting his class and his upside there, and he's just a quality back rower. He's got New South Wales Cup experience from last year as well, and played well enough in the NRL trials, and he's a guy who I trust to do a job there. And then Thomas Dello as well, the Australian schoolboys back-to-back lock forward there. He just goes straight in for mine as well. Off the bench, Ashton Large, my 14, I already sort of spoke about that. I think he can offer heaps of impact off the bench with his leg speed and running game. The other 3 forwards that I've gone on the bench, a guy that's been playing New South Wales Cup and doing good things there, Roman Tuamau. Can cover back row and front row. I'd probably use him off the bench, and you'll see why when I get to my jersey 17. I'll probably use him off the bench as that in that middle rotation. I just think he's strong, has a crack, good defensively, and he can cover back row if needed there. So I think that's a good option in jersey 15. Atula Seve would be my 16. His older brother played New South Wales under-19s a few years ago. I think he'll get his chance there. He was in the City 18s lineup last year as well. So I've got him there. And Chris Petrus I've got at jersey 17. I just think he's probably too good to miss out. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's a starting 11 over Phoenix Godinay, especially if you're going off SG Ball form. But yeah, like I said, I trust Phoenix Godinay's upside, what he can do. He's got good ball playing, great defender and all that sort of thing. And Chris Petrus, I think, can light a game up. He's got, he's very powerful, light-footed. He's got a good kick chase in him, can go up for that high ball. I think he's a good option there in jersey 17. And then my 18 and 19, 2 guys who I think deserve a spot in the squad, and cover 2 different positions there, but Taj Alvarez at jersey 18, I just think he's too good not to be in the conversation and not to be there. And then Eddie Kalis at jersey 19 through the middle. I think he's been the best 13 in the competition SG Ball this year, I think. And, he gets through and wins the SG Ball Grand Final. His finals campaign was really good. Leads the line speed, leads kick chase, does all these effort things. He's defensively got a pretty good work rate. And then in attack, he's got a good offload on him, can create things happening through the middle. So I like him in that squad there. That's my New South Wales team. I probably spent a little bit longer than I wanted to on that one. Obviously, like I said, the Queensland one I can't go as in depth in terms of the numbers and whatnot that I've got. And, I didn't watch every single game of Malmanica Cup, but what I can do is just sort of go through and comment on what I've seen and why I'm sort of picking certain players in certain positions. And for Queensland, I think the fullback would be Seth Gundry. I had Quick's Luke there for a long time in terms of, I had a rolling under-19s lineup that I've had for both teams. Seth Gundry is in the emerging squad, so obviously he can play there, and he's Mount Meninga Cup, he played a couple of games and was electric there. NRLQ for the Broncos, he's put in some outstanding performances for them as well. I think he's a highly quality player. I remember picking a Australian under-17s lineup 2 years ago, just for a bit of mock content. I did an Australian and New Zealand under-17s and under-19s, and Seth Gundry was my fullback in that under-17s lineup. I got a huge opinion of him. I'd like such a big opinion of him that I had Rex Bathingthwaite at wing to accommodate Seth Gundry in that squad. So I think Seth Gundry at fullback for Queensland is my number one pick. And, he's put in some huge performances this season in both Mount Meninga Cup and NRLQ, so I trust that selection there. On the wings, Mel Nonu, he had a huge SG ball campaign. He was my winger of the year there. Top try scorer, 18 line breaks, I think he ended up having throughout the season for 14 or 15 tries or whatever it was. So, he's got to be a guy that's there for mine, obviously, come down from Queensland to join the Newcastle Knights this year, and has done some really good things. Siasaya Poese would be my other winger as well. He's been killing it up there for South Logan Magpies. I think he was at Keebra, whatever schoolboy side he played for. I remember him carving up there, and then he's obviously played Queensland under-18s as well. So I think I'm pretty confident in that selection as well. On the wing, I think it'll be Nonu and Poese. Poese was in the emerging squad. I don't know if Mel Nonu was there or not, but I'm pretty sure he is eligible for Queensland. Otherwise, that's, I'm quite certain he's eligible for Queensland. I have spoken to a few people about it, and they said that he is. I think he's Victorian born, but then moved up to Queensland, something along those lines. But yeah, I think those two would be my wingers, just based on form across, Mount Meninga Cup, schoolboys, and SG Ball in Melbourne Nonu's case. My two centres, I'd go with Brian Poinu. I think he's a very talented centre at the Dolphins. He can play back row as well, but you'll come to find out, their forward pack is stacked this year, the Queensland side, so I'm very happy to have Poinu at centre. And my other centre would be Louis Lee from the Roosters. He did do a hamstring injury. I think he should be back before this side gets announced, and yeah, he's just a quality player for the Roosters over the last 2 seasons, over the last 3 seasons really, including Harold Matthews the year before. Just a strong ball runner. He kind of reminds me of Rob Toyer at that same age. He's coming through that same sort of mould, that centre. That's a really destructive one-on-one matchup and all those sorts of things. So that would be my back five: Seth Gundry, Mel Nonu, Brian Poinu, Louis Lee, and Siasaya Poese. My halves, I've deliberated over this for a little bit, but I think the lack of a certain other position, which I'll get to in a second, has sort of changed my mind with what I do with my halves. And at 6, I've gone with Taj Lateo. I think he's been doing really good things for the Cowboys and NRLQ this season. He's obviously done well with the Townsville Blackhawks. He's through to the grand final this weekend in Mount Meninga Cup. So I like him at 6 there. He was very good for Palm Beach Currumbin as well over the last couple of years in schoolboy footy. I think he's a pretty underrated player up there, and when you're when you're playing really well in NRLQ, and he's got a combination with one of the back rows I'm going to pick as well, having played together in Townsville Blackhawks and at the Cowboys NRLQ side. I just think you got to reward that form, and from what I've seen, I think he's going to be capable enough to handle this level. He was a Queensland under-18 schoolboys half last year. I've gone with him at 6, and I've moved because originally I had Burvey at 6 and Watson at 7. I've moved Burvey to 7, so I've gone with a halves pairing of Taj Lateo, Elijah Burvey. He was my SG Ball Player of the Year. I've got to have him there. I just think he's played very, very good footy this season, and I think that combination with Taj Lateo could work. Taj Lateo, a bit bigger body, he's got a good kicking game, good running game out on that left edge, and then you can have Elijah Burvey playing right edge and just playing what he sees, and I think that dynamic will really work for them. And Jersey 9, I would have half revealed it. Hayden Watson, he was a number 9 for the Burleigh Bears last year. I think he looks a little bit more naturally a number 9. He's done really well at 7 this season for the Melbourne Storm, but I just think he the way he moves and the way he passes the ball and all those sorts of things. And, he come off the bench into jersey number 9 last year for Queensland. I think number 9 might end up being his best position. But, you can make it work in 7 or 9. Regardless, he'll be in this side, Hayden Watson, whether he starts at 7 or whether he starts at 9. But, Ezra Leota's the only other 9, I think, in that emerging squad, unless there's somebody that I've just completely snubbed. But he was there for mine. Jai Bilish was another one who I wanted to have there, but I think he's New Zealand. So I don't think he's eligible for Queensland. But... yeah, so I don't think Jai Bilish is eligible for Queensland, but so I just think Ezra Leota's form hasn't been at that standard that he hit last year, especially during that schoolboys competition. I thought Ezra Leota was stiff to not be in that Australian schoolboys side. Him and Jai Bilish, I thought, were the 2 clear best number 9s in the entire competition in that carnival. But Hayden Watson, like I said, I think I'd trust in him as a number 9. I think that's probably going to be his best position. I think he'll be in this side regardless. He might even captain the side. I've got him there to accommodate for Taj Lateo being in the side. So 6, 7, 9, Taj Lateo, Elijah Burve, Hayden Watson. I like that rotation personally. Front row, Tupou Francis, Kobe Floro. Tupou Francis, I don't feel overly comfortable having him in the front row, but I feel less comfortable having Jackson Coyner in the front row. I'd like both of them to start. I think they've both got very good work rates. I think for mine, I looked at this middle rotation and sort of went, those are the 3 guys that I want. Francis, Floro is in the side last year, and I think he's played good footy for the Storm this year. And Jackson Coyner, he'd probably be one of my first picked in this side, to be completely honest. And I think with Coyner, I just noted something with his game. I prefer him a lot at lock because he's got good ball playing, good work rate through the middle defensively. He's not that big barnstorming, going to crash over for big meters, and he's not going to, break heaps of tackles and offloads and all those things. Back fence carries, not exactly his strong suit. I think he runs very, very upright when you watch, sort of how he runs coming off the back fence. He got folded against the Bulldogs a couple of weeks ago doing that. So I do prefer him at 13, and I just think he's the best 13 in this age group at the moment. Tupou Francis will have his time in the 13 jersey, and that will be next year. But I like him at front row there. I think that gives them a very solid middle, the power game of Kobe Floro, but then, the work rate and, sort of ball playing and communication, all that of Tupou Francis and Jackson Coyner through the middle as well. I think that bodes very well for them. And then the back row, I've gone with Taylor Toa and Kalani Lavender. Kalani Lavender, well, they were both actually in this side last year. And I think Taylor Toa has been awesome for the Cowboys and for the Blackhawks up there in Malmaninga and NRLQ. And that form has to be rewarded. And the fact he was in the side last year as well has to be rewarded. And then Kalani Lavender, again, in the side last year, doing awesome things for the Dolphins in NRLQ. I just think he's a highly quality player, and for mine, that back row sort of picked itself a little bit. On the bench, like I said, it could be Ezra Leota at 14 to give Hayden Watson a rest. I don't think it needs to be, but I'm gonna play both sides of the fence. I'm gonna say it's either Adequix Luke, who, like I said, I had him in my fullback jersey until sort of Seth Gundry has lit it up over the back end of the season, and then or Ezra Leota. Just depends on whether we want to run 2 9s or not, or if they want to have, a guy that can cover the back 5 there on the bench. Just offers a little bit of versatility and cover. I think if it is a 6-man bench, maybe Adequix Luke gets on there. But, he's been highly quality for the Dolphins this season. Over the last couple of seasons, he's playing up at the North Devils, had some huge performances there, and played NRL trials earlier in the season as well. Looks solid there, so he's a quality player. And if you want to run 2 9s, Ezra Leota will probably be my 14 there, especially considering what he did in the 14 jersey for the Queensland schoolboys side. 15, I went with Charlie Dixon. I think he's a highly quality middle up at the Dolphins, playing for the North Devils, done some good things in Melbourne Cup this year. He's been playing NRLQ. His first game, he was good off the bench, and he automatically went straight into the 13 jersey the next 2 weeks. So, just, a highly quality player. He'd be an age up in this contest, I believe. He was, for the Dolphins, the player of the match in the Cyril Connell Grand Final last year or the year before. So yeah, he's a top quality player, and I think he'll be in this setup somewhere. The last couple of bench spots is where it got tricky, because I want to pick middle forwards. Pale Fianati, I think probably has to be there. He'd be my jersey 16. And then I think jersey 17, a guy who can cover a couple positions in the forward pack, Jared Horn. He's played for PNG against the Australian schoolboys side in one of those tours. He's been a highly quality player for the Broncos over the last couple of years. A guy that was in that under-17s Australian lineup that I did. I think he would be a great jersey 17. He's done some good things playing back row and Melbourne Cup this year, and can cover the lock position as well. And obviously, if he can go into lock, Coiner could slot into that front row position. Then obviously Charlie Dixon's more so of a lock. He can cover front row, but you probably prefer him playing lock. And then you need a power middle off the bench, and that would be Pale Fianati. So unfortunately, that means that Frank Howarth probably has to miss out for mine. I think he's a quality player. He's been playing Jersey Flag, and played a bit of Jersey Flag last year. He was quality for the Storms SG ball side over the last 2 seasons as well. But he probably just misses out on this side for me. Another guy who I want in this squad, I've got him written down here as jersey 18, is Kobe McGarity. He would be an age up in this contest, so I don't think there's any rush to have him in the side. I think he'll be Queensland under-19s rep at some point. I think, like I said, when, mid-season, I said, he probably represents everything that Queenslanders talk about when they say Queensland spirit. He's just a hard-working middle forward, puts his head into some strange places, but, he's just a tough middle forward that, gets through heaps of work, defensively is good, can give you a huge stint. I think he's going to be a starting front rower next season. So he's a guy who I'd have in this lineup. And a guy, when you talk about having to reward form, I think Tyler Pereira is a guy whose form in Melbourne Cup and, played NRLQ for the Titans as well in the centres. And he was a fullback for the Ipswich Jets, I want to say he was playing for. Just great, just put in great form for those two teams, and he's a guy that you probably have to reward for that form and find a spot for him in this jersey 19. And if they do go with the 6-man bench, he's an ideal guy who can cover 1 to 5. So if you've got that 6-man bench, maybe you go Ezra Leota 14 to cover 9, and Tyler Pereira can be that back 5 role in jersey 19, or maybe Adequix Lukes goes there. Just depends, really. And like I said, Frank Howarth would be very stiff to miss out, but just the way that I've assembled this bench and this forward pack, there's just so many good lock forwards that it's tough to make out, and so many good back rows as well. It's a tough lineup to make, but I'm pretty happy with it, to be honest. We'll run back through that. Seth Gundry, Mel Nonu, and Siasaya Puese on the wings, Brian Poinu and Louis Lee in the centres, Taj Lateo, Elijah Burve, Mo halves, Dupol Francis, Kobe Floro up front with Jackson Coiner at lock, Hayden Watson in the middle at 9, Taylor Toa and Kalani Lavender are my 2 back rowers. Then I'm going to go, for the sake of just locking someone in, Adequix Luke at 14, my 15 Charlie Dixon, 16 Pale Fianati, 17 Jared Horn, 18 Kobe McGarity, 19 Tyler Pereira would be my Queensland lineup. And then my New South Wales lineup that I've picked: Rex Bathing-Swaite at fullback, Cooper Johnson and either Makasini or Papalia Four on the wings, Dane Jennings and Toby Winter in the centres, Onatoni Large, Cutter Mariko in the halves, Ryder Talangi, Christian Tupper Moores up front with Thomas Dello at lock. Then Phoenix Godney, Darcy Smith in the back row, Ashton Large at 14, Roman Tuamau at 15, Atula Seve, Chris Petrus round out the bench, and then Taj Alvarez, Eddie Kalis, 18 and 19. Thanks for listening again. Tomorrow morning will be a podcast, previewing Mount Meninga. It might not be tomorrow morning, might be Friday morning rather, previewing Mount Meninga Cup and talking about, performances of the week and all those sorts of things, reviewing the Junior Reps Grand Finals down here in New South Wales as well. So stay tuned for that. But other than that, thanks for listening. See you all on the next one.